Welcome back, everybody. Charlie here with JC3 Cards and Collectibles and good old Stu. We are here again with another Top 10 and 10, the liquidity list for football. We brought out our first list last week about this time. At that time, we were doing 30-day views of sales, and throughout the week, we've kind of assessed how we're doing that. And we are now looking at weekly sales data on eBay. That's right. We're going to try and update this every week for you. Some really good information here when you're making your buys and you're sourcing your cards. Also, some good information to utilize when looking at the prices in your store. What's moving? Why aren't things moving? Compared to what the market is doing. So the goal with this is really to give you some empirical data to use. We talk a lot, we hear a lot. Sellers will say, "Oh, I sell a ton of this, and I sell a ton of that, and I always sell that every day." Well, that's all well and good, but what are the numbers behind that? And that's what we're bringing to you today. These are the hard numbers from eBay, all of their fixed price and best offer sales for the last week in the football category. And there's a little bit of movement this week compared to what we discussed last week. And that movement is at the bottom of the list this week. Numbers 9 and 10 had a little bit of movement. The rest of the list was pretty stable. The numbers changed in the sales volume a little bit, but the rankings were pretty familiar from last week. Some of the players that dropped out of the top 10 this week might surprise you. The biggest name right now dropping in our list, and you will not see on the countdown, is number one draft pick, Caleb Williams. So the draft hype is quieting down a little bit. I would expect that we are going to see another bump in his card sales as camps open in the NFL. But the media blitz that is the NFL draft really pushed his numbers high for a number of weeks, and deservedly so. He is potentially a generational talent. He had outlandish success at USC. And we'll see what he does in the NFL now. But he did slide out of our top 10 this week. He's not too far out of it. We may see him again in the near future. Another name that slid out of our list is Hall of Famer and considered one of the best running backs of all time, if not the best running back of all time. Barry Sanders slid just a little bit. He slipped just outside of our top 10. I imagine we will see him back again very soon. He has very consistent card sales, but a couple of players just edged him out this week. And I think we'll see that a lot in the second half of the list, is that some Hall of Famers and superstars will kind of bounce back and forth from week to week, and we certainly saw that this week. So I know I found that a little surprising. Let me know what you think of that in the comments. Once you take a look at our list here, what do you think of these guys that slid out of the top 10? Were you caught by surprise? Do you kind of expect that from time to time? How do they relate to your own store sales, right? Or if you don't have a store, just your sales overall. So another thing we added this week is we added the actual volume of the cards sold. So previously, we just listed our top 10 list, told you where they fell. But this week, we added in the actual numbers for you. So you can see that our top card sold a couple thousand cards. And you can see our number 10 card sold less than 1,000 cards, but pretty close, pretty close. Likewise, I can tell you, Barry Sanders, we talked about, slipped out of the top 10. He missed it by one card sale in the last week. One card sale, he would have tied our number 10. Caleb Williams, he dropped down to 761 cards sold this week. So that was quite a bit of a slide. If I look back to our discussion last week, he was selling about 1,000 cards a week when we discussed it last week. So that's a couple hundred cards he slid down. So that's a noticeable bump. And again, we will see some fluctuation from week to week. I think Caleb Williams will be back in there before too long. As I looked at some other players that did not make the top 10, there were some surprises to me. I see Lamar Jackson down around that number 20 mark. He's got a ways to go to get into that top 10. He was a hot seller last year. There's Hall of Famers like John Elway and Jerry Rice. Bo Jackson is down in that area as well. Christian McCaffrey is down around that 20 mark, and he was a hot selling card last season as well. Now, I think as the season kicks off, we're going to see some of that switch again. We're going to see some of those cards climb up, but it is interesting to see where we're at right now. So without further ado, I present to you the liquidity list for football. Enjoy.
Leading off the week at number 10, Jordan Love with 841 cards sold. Number 9. San Francisco 49ers Hall of Famer, Joe Montana with 869 cards sold. Number 8. Fly Eagles Fly, Jalen Hurts with 910 cards sold. Number 7. T-Law, Trevor Lawrence of the Jacksonville Jaguars with 1,132 cards sold. Number 6. Chargers QB, Justin Herbert with 1,206 cards sold. Kicking off our top 5, sophomore star Bryce Young with 1,403 cards sold. Holding strong at number 4. Houston QB CJ Stroud with 1,607 cards sold. Coming in at number 3. Bengal Joe Burrow with 1,889 cards sold. Still roasting at number 2. Tom Brady with 2,030 cards sold. And you guessed it, in our top spot for the second week in a row, Patrick Mahomes. 2,524 cards sold.
Well, there you have it. Another top 10 list, the liquidity list for football, a weekly recap of all eBay trading card sales in the football category. What'd you think? Probably not surprised Patrick Mahomes was in the top spot again, right? Patty just keeps dominating in there. I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. Tom Brady keeps hanging strong. The GOAT, I think that roast of Tom Brady certainly gave him some hype, even though he's not playing now. But you win that many Super Bowls, you're going to stay in top 10 lists like this for a long time. CJ Stroud and Bryce Young, the young guys holding strong in there on our list. That is good to see. And then some of these guys, Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, they came in with a lot of hype, draft stock, success in college. They're holding their own out there as well, rounding out that top 5. So I really enjoy seeing that. Joe Montana's one of my favorites. Love to see him climbing into that top 10 for a while at least. Jordan Love, hometown QB of our Green Bay Packers. Great to see him make the top 10 this week with 841 cards sold. One better than Detroit Lion great Barry Sanders. So I think we'll see some movement around that end of the list moving forward. Now, I also like to share with you just a little bit of information when I get this data. It also gives me, as I comb through it, it gives me an idea of what some of the more popular sets are that are selling as well, because there's a lot of listings on eBay that are just pick a card from this set. So that tells me a little bit of information about those sets as well. So as I look at that list, you can see here, actually, I'll put it right up here. You can see 2023 Panini Zenith is on the list. 1971 Topps Football. Love seeing some vintage football out there. 2024 Panini Instant NFL RPS First Look. So that's like the Panini equivalent of Topps Now. So that's interesting. A lot of sales flying through there right now. 2023 Panini Donruss Optic, an old reliable there. 1983 Topps Football. 1970 Topps Football, some more vintage. And then recent offerings, you're typically going to see some of those. So 2023 Panini Score, 2023 Panini Prism round off the list of sets that are selling. So again, hoping this information helps you as you source cards, as you sell cards, as you're on the lookout for different options. The sales data, I think, can help you make some of those decisions. It's not the only thing that you should be using to make a decision, but it is one of the items that I think can help you, and it certainly is something that I use on a regular basis. If it's your first time here, make sure you hit that sub button so that you know when we have new content coming out. If you like this content, make sure you're smashing that like button so we know that you want to see some more of this. As always, we love to see some comments out there. Let me know your thoughts. Who do you think should be in the list? Who do you think doesn't deserve to be in the list? I always find trading cards to be interesting because it's not a one-for-one relationship with on-field success. The greatest of all time is not always the top seller because there's a little bit of media hype that gets involved in that as well that drives card sales up. So that's what we got this week. Quick reminder, if you like to have some interactive chat about the hobby and card selling every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Central, you can check me and Stu over at the Dollar Box with our friend Adam. Adam puts on the Dollar Box live every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Central. It's a fun interactive program from roughly 8 to 10:30 we usually go until. And we talk about things in the hobby, things we're encountering in our sales. I like to say we spit a little bit of knowledge, a little bit of news, and a little bit of nonsense. Okay, you got me. A lot of nonsense on most Wednesday nights. But it's a live interactive chat. So we have a pretty strong regular audience that likes to participate in the show. We will read your chats, we will answer your questions. It's a very, very fun back and forth conversation. So if that sounds like something you'd enjoy, make sure you join us on Wednesday nights, 8 p.m. Central. So that's it for today. Until next time, peace out. Take care of each other.